Okay, so we haven't write about the computer speed last time. We were completing this table, so it's better you write this down. Then we'll go to the computer memory. Okay, so people, are we done? Is there anyone who is still writing? Yes, yes, Sanushi, I'll go through it. I'll go through it. Right, so this explains the computer speed. Now, computer speed means the speed of the central processing unit. So generally, we are mentioning the speed as the clock speed of the CPU, right? Because a clock speed means like, you know, what's the nature of a clock? It's ticking, right? So if we match a one particular tick as a one particular instruction, so it ticks per instruction. හරියට ඔරලෝසුවේ තප්පර කට්ට ටික් වෙනවා වගේ මෙයා ටක් ගාලා instructions execute කරගන්නවා. So ඒකටත් අපි කියනවා clocking කියලාම. Right? That is why we are referring it as the clock speed. Right? So it is measured by the hertz. Hertz is the smallest unit of the frequency, right? So it's kind of a frequency. How many tasks are done per second, right? So hertz is the standard unit, like the grams. So when the grams multiplied by the 1000, it's become kilograms, right? And then megagrams. Likewise, it can go on. So likewise, hertz is the one which measures how many tasks are happen per second, right? So when it comes to the computer, the CPU, it executes millions or billions time of instructions per second, right? So if we do one particular, if the CPU execute one particular instruction per second, its speed is going to be 1 hertz. So if it execute 10 instructions per second, its speed is going to be 10 hertz. And if it executes 1000 instructions per second, the frequency is going to be 1000 hertz, which we can write as, which is equal to 1 kilohertz. So megahertz means 1000 into 1000 times, right? So that means 1 million times per second. Gigahertz means 1000 into 1000 into 1000. That means 1 billion times per second of instructions. Is that clear? Yes, right. Okay. So it's better you remember now the latest computers, its CPU comes in the speed of gigahertz. Now I'll show you the speed of my processor. You can go to the system specifications by right-clicking on your start button and finding the menu item called system. So you click on the system and there you go. Now, this is what you can see as my computer's CPU speed, right? Let me take the magnifier, right? So it shows Intel Core i5, that's the type of the processor, right? This is the model number, and here comes the speeds. So now there are two types of speeds. This first speed shows you the optimal speed that a CPU can have. Optimal speed means it's not the fastest, it's not the slowest, it is the best speed that is good for the CPU's health. So if we are able to manage the CPU speed in this particular manner, like 1.6 gigahertz, the lifetime of the CPU will be much longer, as well as your task will be done in a very quicker manner. Right, so it's a win-win situation, right? Task එකත් හොඳට කරනවා, CPU life එකත් ගන්න පුළුවන්, උපරිමයට අරගන්න පුළුවන්. But when it comes to the 2.11, this shows the maximum capability that the CPU has. So that means at the maximum, it can manage 2.11. That means like 2 billion number of instructions can be handled per second at the maximum. Is that clear, everyone? That is what these two speeds are explaining. Right. So after the computer speed, we are coming to the memories. Right. Now you can remember last time when we are assembling the computer, we install the random access memory, right? Which is kind of a main memory that we can find on the computer, right? So generally, computer memory divide into two parts like this, the main memory and the secondary memory. So main memory has two particular segments. Like in some explanation, they are talking about three particular things, but I'll go with the diagram which is given in your textbook. So it is categorized as random access memory, the RAM, the read-only memory as the ROM, right? So when it comes to the random access memory, it is kind of a primary memory. So we have the specifications or the hardware that we saw, which we were using to assemble the computer last time, right? So generally it comes as a green color bar, right? With some copper lines at the bottom, right? And you saw how we fix that, right? So it has a particular slot on the PC, on the motherboard. So we can fix that particular RAM to that particular slot, right? So it is the main memory, it is the main memory component which remember the things until the power is supplied. So when the power is discontinued or disconnected, the things on the RAM will be erased. So that is the reason, because you are losing the data of your computer due to a power cut if you have not saved those things onto your computer. When you press the save button of a particular application, it's going to save to the secondary memory, which is here. That means the secondary memory explains the hard disk, the CDs, the DVDs, the external hard disk, the USB drives, all these things. So those kind of things will not lose what is being stored with or without the electricity supply, all right? But when it comes to the main memories or the primary memories, they forget the things or they erase the things which is stored onto it when the power is disconnected. People, is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Right, great. Now, under the primary memory, there is another one called ROM. Now, ROM is a little bit different from the main memory. Like I told you, the main memory or the RAM, it's going to lose its data when the power is disconnected. But when it comes to the ROMs, it's the story is not like that. Like in generally, ROM is going to erase its memory when the power is discontinued or like disconnected. But what they have done to not to forget anything on the ROM, on the motherboard, they use a small battery to power up these ROMs in all the time, right? So it doesn't matter whether the computer is connected with the main power supply, it remember everything because the ROM is given the power using a small battery, right? In our computer, on the motherboard, we can find something called CMOS battery. I'll show you a picture, right? So that CMOS battery is there to power up the ROMs, read-only memories, right? So these kind of batteries are called CMOS batteries. Right now, this is a picture of the part of a motherboard, right? So it's kind of a battery that we are using for watches and remotes and all these things, all right? So when this is here, it will power up the ROMs, which is connected to the motherboard. So even though we switched off the computer, still this battery has the power enough, like the battery has the enough power to power up the ROMs, right? So they won't forget or they won't erase the things which are stored to that particular ROMs because this battery is providing the continuous power supply to those ROMs. In case if this battery dies, then they are going to forget those instructions, some of those instructions as well. That is the reason for some of the computers, when it is getting booted, they always ask you to set the time and the date, or they will ask you to press F1 to continue or press F2 to go to the boot up menu or kind of things. Those kind of messages are there. Those kind of messages will indicate this particular battery is dead, right? computer එකේ date එක time එක අපි set කරන දෙයක්. අපි තමයි ROM එකට කියන්නේ date එක මෙහෙමයි time එක මෙහෙමයි කියලා. Right? So if this battery die, that means it's not going to provide the current to the ROMs. So that means the things that we have stored onto the ROM will be erased. So we have to reset it, or we have to provide those details again and again when the computer is getting boot up. Yes, Rizwan.
Sir, booting means like restarting or shutting down, like sir?
Booting means starting, Buddha. Starting, like when you press the start button, so the computer will boot up. That's what you call booting, right? So even in a restart, it is kind of a reboot. What is happening? Booting means starting. Rebooting means starting again, right? Shutting down is shutting down. It's getting closed. Okay, so that's the story of the RAM and the ROM. So the things, Sanushi, it's like this. Now, generally having power means I'm talking about the main power supply, which you are going to take from the wall outlet, right? So you plug your all your things into the power socket on the wall. So through that wire, computer will be powering up. Just think about a desktop computer. Like when it comes to the laptop, story is a little bit different because laptop has a built-in battery. So we can charge the battery and keep things. So like having the power supply means having the power from the main power supply. When it comes to the laptop, still the laptop battery will power up the system. When the laptop battery is dead, the system is disconnected from the power, right? So for a laptop, there can be two main power supplies. One is the battery power and the other one is the direct power from the wall socket, right? For a desktop computer, definitely it's from your main power supply from the wall. Is it clear, Sanushi? Right, okay. So the ROMs that are used to or like that are helping for your computer to get boot up, we generally name them as BIOS, as well as sometimes we name it as CMOS, right? So those things will be given the power or will be taken care of by that small battery being powered up, even the main supply is disconnected. And as I told you, there is another memory which categorized under the primary memory, which is called the cache memory, right? So this is pronounced as cache. So this cache memory is there to remember the most recent programs executed inside the CPU, right? So this picture will describe the things. So the CPU is there. When something to be executed on the CPU, first it is look for the cache memory, whether that cache memory has the details of that particular program. If it is there, that program will be taken from the cache memory to the CPU, then it executes, right? If the cache memory does not contain the data regarding that specific program, then only it will refer the primary memory or the RAM for the instructions. So from the RAM, things will be taken to the cache memory, then to the CPU. Yeah, Udan, I'm still on the explanation part, right? So it's better you understand how important your cache memory. Now you can experience this with this kind of a scenario. Now you can see like in my computer, I have this file explorer, I have my browser, my PDF document, as well as my Zoom session. My WhatsApp chat is here. I'll close it, right? And the settings, I'll close that too. So now I'm going to start a program. I'll start the word and you may count the seconds that the word is taken to start for the first time, right? So I'm clicking on the word now. So let's count 1 second, 2 seconds. Yeah, like within 2 seconds, it is started, right? Now, if I take a blank sheet and if I type something and I'm going to close this. Now I'm going to reopen it, right? I'm going to reopen it.
I'm gonna copy it.
Okay, good.
Mom is gonna copy my big TV.
Yeah, sorry for that, people. I have to mute the mic since my little one is here, right? So yeah, I have opened this for a little time. Now, for the very first time when I'm opening this, it took 2 seconds to open it. So now I'm closing it. They're asking whether I need to save this. I say don't. And now I'm opening the Word again. Let's count how many seconds, right? 1. So it comes with just like 1 second, right? Now, cache memory is helping for that, right? So the very first time when I'm opening this in my computer, the Word program, it was in the hard disk. So from the hard disk, this particular program is taken to the primary memory. Then it comes to the cache memory, and then it takes to the CPU. The second time when I'm starting this, since the Word program is executed very recently, cache memory memorize about it. Okay, the Word has been executed recently. So when I'm asking the CPU to execute it again, CPU looks into the cache memory first, then he found out, okay, the asking program is there in the cache memory, so I can take it and execute it right away. So that is why it was executed quicker than the previous time. Is that clear? What's the task of the cache memory now? Right, great. Yes, Dilendia, both RAM and ROM are placed in a computer. Now, as you can remember, last week, we placed the RAM, we fixed the RAM onto the motherboard, right? So we can purchase a RAM from the market and we can fix it separately onto the motherboard. Somehow, computer must have a RAM on the motherboard to execute or like to operate the system unit or to boot up the system. As well as ROM is a must, because ROM is not something that we can purchase from the market or from a shop. It is fixed onto the motherboard by the manufacturer, right? When the motherboard is manufactured, ROMs are also being manufactured and given the certain instruction into it, and it is welded onto the motherboard. So we can't like the normal people like us, we won't be able to replace it. But the technician, if he have since he have the technical knowledge regarding it, so he can take away a ROM and place another ROM with his technical knowledge. But generally, ROM is there fixed onto the motherboard when we are purchasing the motherboard or the computer. But RAM are not like that. We can go to a computer accessory selling shop and we can ask for a RAM and we can take it and fix onto the motherboard if the fixing slots are available on your motherboard. Is that clear, Dilendia? All right, great. Okay, so shall we write about the computer memories, people? So have the heading computer memory. So wait, I come. and have this, people. And it's better you have the cache memory as well under the main memory, right? So let me have it over here. Is it taking so?
No, Dad.
Hold on.
I want to keep something going in my eyes.
Okay. Shall we take?
The water?
Yes, and a handkerchief. Can you take it?
Sure.
So I will put it on your eyes. Huh?
Okay.
Okay. So you can have it as the third branch. On the main memory, right? So have it like this, people. So computer memory will be the heading. So you can go with this diagram. Okay. Yes, Dinatra, this is the first one that we are writing. Let me know when you are done, people. All right, one is done. How about others? All right, anyone who is still writing? Okay, so moving forward. So yeah, let's shortly write about the primary memory. So I have the subheading primary memory. And have this. And it's better you say this as well, because it says there are 3 types of primary memories. So under the primary memory, yeah, we have to write about the RAM, ROM, and the cache. So hold on. I will highlight the things for you to write.
The heading is the primary memory.
Heading is the primary memory. Under that, this point is going to go. Excuse me. And after that, we are going to talk about the 3 types. The first type is going to be the random access memory. So under it, these highlighting points are going to be right. You can write it as point forms, right? Reason, yeah, I had my primary educations from St. John's College, and after the scholarship, I was selected to the Mahanama College, Colombo. So I schooled there from grade 6 to 13. Then after I had my teaching appointment on 2012. So from 2012, I'm still a teacher. Okay, one is done. How about others? Okay, Rizwan. Yes. Are there any more who is still writing? Okay, can we move forward, people? Right, moving to the read-only memory.
So you were,
Rizwan, come again.
so you were like it.
Ah, okay, hold on. Maybe because I connect this one. I'll disconnect it. I think now it's okay, right?
Now,
Okay. Yeah, it's better you write the entire thing. So there's some important stuff regarding the rock. Yes, yes, Udan. It's it should be the motherboard. It says motherboards or something. It's the motherboards. The very last word, motherboards. Sanushi, yeah, I'll come to that. Good that you are asking those questions. That means you people are like aware of this thing, like you are awake with the subject. I'll come to that. I'll come to that. Yes, people, are we done? People, are we still writing? Or are we done? Okay, okay. Keep writing, no worries. Right, 2 are done. How about others? All right, so moving forward. So the cache memory, people in the first sentence, smaller in capacity than the other memory, but faster. Before the faster word, there should be a but, right? Right, but faster. So when you are done with writing, draw the diagram, people. Yeah, Sanushi, yes, I missed it. Now, meanwhile, Sanushi was asking what is read and write operations. Like, yeah, I was there to discuss, I just missed the point. So like reading and writing operation means, now when there is RAM, when we create something, like let's say we are going to type something onto the word processing software or a Word document. So it is like we are creating some new data. So when we are creating new data, it is considered as writing the things onto the memory. When we save it, the content on the memory will be saved to the hard disk or the secondary storage. So if I need to refer something that has already been stored or already been saved or already been there in the main memory, it is referred as reading. All right. So when we are adding the new stuff, it is referring to the writing. When we are referring the stuff from the main memory, that is considered as reading. So that is what we call reading and writing to the main memory. Right? And on the hand of the ROM, we can't write things onto the ROM. That is being said by the manufacturer. So we can only read those things. Actually, the system unit will read those things when the system is booting up. Sanushi, is that clear? Right, great. So go with the diagram and let me know when you are done, people. Okay, some are done with the diagram. How about others?
Sir, can you give a few minutes?
Yeah, sure.
Done, sir.
Okay, can we move forward? Anyone still writing this? Okay, moving forward. So now we are going to talk about the secondary memory. Before that, we'll see whether we got a small video regarding the primary memory to see. As I remember, we got something. Hold on. Let me have my links. Yeah, there you go. Now this explains about the computer memory, all the kinds. As I remember.
These doodly videos are better than any of the other videos I've ever made. And they took me like a quarter of the time.
So I'll share it with the sounds.
Holds charges briefly before they leak away, requiring periodic. In many ways, our memories make us who we are, helping us remember our past, learn and retain skills, and plan for the future. And for the computers that often act as extensions of ourselves, memory plays much the same role. Whether it's a 2-hour movie, a 2-word text file, or the instructions for opening either, everything in a computer's memory takes the form of basic units called bits, or binary digits. Each of these is stored in a memory cell that can switch between 2 states for 2 possible values, 0 and 1. Files and programs consist of millions of these bits, all processed in the central processing unit, or CPU, that acts as the computer's brain. And as the number of bits needing to be processed grows exponentially, computer designers face a constant struggle between size, cost, and speed. Like us, computers have short-term memory for immediate tasks and long-term memory for more permanent storage. When you run a program, your operating system allocates area within the short-term memory for performing those instructions. For example, when you press a key in a word processor, the CPU will access one of these locations to retrieve bits of data. It could also modify them or create new ones. The time this takes is known as the memory's latency. And because program instructions must be processed quickly and continuously, all locations within the short-term memory can be accessed in any order, hence the name random access memory. The most common type of RAM is dynamic RAM, or DRAM. There, each memory cell consists of a tiny transistor and a capacitor that store electrical charges, a 0 when there's no charge, or a 1 when charged. Such memory is called dynamic because it only holds charges briefly before they leak away.
Okay, so it has much technical details as well, but it gives you a simple picture. Like when the CPU cannot handle lots of data at once, so they made the memory so it can hold things and give it to the main memory give it to the CPU one after the other. All right. So let me see what other things that is important over here. Yeah. Some stuff in the next 2-3 minutes are important. Let's watch it.
Requiring periodic recharging to retain data. But even its low latency of 100 nanoseconds is too long for modern CPUs. So there's also a small, high-speed internal memory cache made from static RAM. That's usually made up of 6 interlocked transistors, which don't need refreshing. SRAM is the fastest memory in a computer system, but also the most expensive, and takes up 3 times more space than DRAM. But RAM and cache can only hold data as long as they're powered. For data to remain once the device is turned off, it must be transferred into a long-term storage device, which comes in 3 major types. In magnetic storage, which is the cheapest, data is stored as a magnetic pattern on a spinning disk coated with magnetic film. But because the disk must rotate to where the data is located in order to be read, the latency for such drives is 100,000 times slower than that of DRAM. On the other hand, optical-based storage like DVD and Blu-ray also uses spinning disks, but with a reflective coating. Bits are encoded as light and dark spots using a dye that can be read by a laser. While optical storage media are cheap and removable, they have even slower latencies than magnetic storage and lower capacity as well. Finally, the newest and fastest types of long-term storage are solid-state drives, like flash sticks. These have no moving parts, instead using floating gate transistors that store bits by trapping or removing electrical charges within their specially designed internal structures. So how reliable are these billions of bits?
Okay, so it gave you an idea how the storage or the memory is being categorized and what kind of secondary memory that we have. They were talking about three things, right? Like the magnetic media, the optical media, and the solid media, right? So let me show you. Yeah, let's discuss about this a little, and we'll come to another short video regarding the these CDs and DVDs, how they store the data inside it. So when it comes to secondary memory, as it says, there are three types of secondary storage: magnetic media, optical media, and solid state devices. So magnetic media devices, it's the hard disk, floppy disk, and magnetic tape, which use magnetism to store the data. The magnetic particles will help to store the data inside the magnetic media. Optical media, it is a way of storing the data, like which can be read by an optical ray, like a laser, right? So using that, they are going to read whether it is a 0 or a 1. And solid state devices, the name was given to that particular devices because they don't have anything movable, right? They are just the solid circuits. So it is given the name as solid state devices, right? So now when it comes to the magnetic media, they are talking about the hard disk. I'll show you a small video regarding this, how the hard disk is prepared. And before that, we'll take this thing down. Have the heading called secondary memory. Yeah, once you copy this, you have to go with the diagram as well. So let me know when you are done, right? Yes, Sanashi, cache memory, the random access memory, both are keeping the data until it is given the power. The power is disconnected, those have been erased. Okay, one is done. Udan, have you drawn the diagram as well?
Yes, sir.
Right, great. How about others?
Sir, still drawing the diagram, sir.
Okay, others, you can finish it off, right? I'll be there. Like, let me know when you're done. Okay, are we done, everyone? Okay, 2 are done. Is there anyone who is still writing this? Okay, can we continue? Right, so moving forward. Yeah, so first they are going to talk about the magnetic media devices, which we use to store the data using magnetic fields. So the primary device that they are talking is the hard disk, the internal hard disk that which we use to store the data inside our computer, which is fixed inside the system unit, right? So before we before we see the small video regarding this, there are these components inside the hard disk, the platter. So that is what we call a CD kind of a thing inside the hard disk, the spindle which holds the platter, and head is there, that is for the reading and writing purpose. It can read the data on the platters, and the actuator arm, so which moves the head. It's used to move the head, right, from left to right, and the power connector is there to give the power to the particular hard disk, and the IDE connector, or sometimes we call it, now we call it a SATA connector, right? So that will help you to take the data into the hard disk and take the data from the hard disk to the other places, right? And the actuator is there, right? So which moves the arm connected to that, right? So you can have the clear idea once you watch this video, right? So let me have the link.
Let's get into something better. Okay, this is going to be super easy. I'm just going to stack up these blocks.
So like, see it carefully, people. It's going to dismantle the hard disk, and you will see the platters, actuators, and all these things. So once we are done with this video, we are going to end the session for today. So look closely after that. Goodbye. So here we can see the components very clearly: the platter, the actuator arm, the spindle, the head at the edge of this actuator arm. So you can see there are multiple heads over here, right? So to do the read and writing, and both the surface of the platter is used to do the writing part, right? Okay, so that's how it is when it comes to the hard disk, right? So let's write about the magnetic media and the other storages by next week, people, right? So I'm going to end the session for today from this point. So I'll see you on next week to discuss about the other things, right? So thank you very much, everyone. Have a very nice evening. I'll see you on next Tuesday for the same time. All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you very much.
Goodbye. Goodbye, sir. Thank you, sir. God bless.
Right. Okay, Dua. Thank you very much.
God bless, sir.